Sorry, I think we're waiting for the okay to start. Do you want me to go?
Yeah, there we go.
Can we start? Okay. Is it on? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We'll try our best here. Thank you all for coming. I think most of you know Jory, Joe's daughter. This is my sister, Jacqueline. I just wanted to say we're so thankful for those of you who have stepped up the last few weeks and have been so supportive with everything we're going through, and you know who you are. I can't thank everyone. She's coming in right now. I just wanted to give a shout out to my mother-in-law, Anne, who is spending a milestone birthday here, helping with Joey, so thank you. And we have people here who have flown in from all over California and even Ireland, so we're just blown away. So thank you guys for being here. Okay, I can do it.
I can take over at any time.
Okay, I'm not sure how many of you know this, but for a very long time, Dad was told that he was not able to have any children. So you can imagine how happy he was when he and Mom welcomed me when he was 44 and Jacqueline when he was 48. And I've been told that when I was born, he was so overcome by emotion that he couldn't speak. You were there. He was so thrilled, and from that day forward, he never took being a dad for granted. He carried that joy with him all the way until, last week. So he was a bit of an older dad, but you'd never know it. He was so energetic and enthusiastic. Sorry. Okay. I'm okay. A normal day for us during our childhood, our mom was home with us during the day, and Dad would go to work super early, like 5:30 or 6 a.m., and he did that so he could come home and be with us by like 3 or 4, just so he could spend the afternoons with us. And he was not a lazy dad by any means. He would work all day, come home, and he might mow the entire lawn and cook a beautiful gourmet dinner. And he was so strong and fit, and up until even just a few months ago, he could do 100 men's push-ups or bike several miles. More fit than me, for sure. Our weekends were often filled with the sounds of Formula One car racing, loud classic rock music, or the sound of various saws roaring in the basement workshop as he built furniture, and the occasional angry outburst of swear words if what he was building wasn't quite perfect. You could often find him on a tall, dangerous ladder fixing something on our house, or adding windows to the house by himself multiple times, or laying underneath a car in the garage trying to fix something, and the idea of hiring someone just wasn't an option. He was just stubborn, and no challenge was too great. We could go on and on about his incredible cooking, everything always from scratch: pizza, pasta, meatballs, bread, biscottis. It was like living in an Italian restaurant. And it smelled like fresh basil and garlic almost every day, and those smells remind us of Dad. Why don't you take this part?
Yeah, I have it. Thank you. During the week, he would pack our lunches at night, and he would always put a little note in it. Sometimes it would be something normal, like "I love you," or sometimes it would be really weird, because a lot of you know his sense of humor. One time he put a doll arm, like a loose doll arm that was somewhere in our toy room, and he put it in my lunchbox with a note that said, "In case you need a hand today." And so that's just kind of how he was. He's really goofy. Some of you probably know this. The Christmas music he played for us growing up was like parody songs. So for example, like the tune of the B-52's song Love Shack, I almost said the other title, it's like Toy Sack, and so it would be like a complete parody album, and a lot of them were not appropriate at all, and we didn't know that at the time, and to this day we still struggle to know the real words to some of those songs because we only know the weird ones. So we have Dad to thank for things like that. You want me to keep going? You want to? Okay.
Okay, we also have to thank him for drilling into our brains that we are 100% Italian, even though we are not, and neither was he. but he wouldn't let us acknowledge the other parts, and he made sure to pass down dozens of food-related traditions, many of which he taught my extended family of my in-laws as well. And even though he embraced being a girl dad, when I married James, my dad finally got the son he never had, and you could argue that he preferred hanging out with him over us.
He did.
We weren't going to drink beers and chop wood with him, so. But I'm thankful that he taught James how to make bread, so that's one less thing Dad made that we'll have to miss out on. And we're glad that Dad got to meet his grandson, Joey, who we named after him. And I know he was super proud of him and bragged about how smart he is. And I know anytime I texted a photo of Joey to Dad, he was going to send it to everybody in his phone. Over the last few years, he's gotten older, and we've certainly had our share of frustrations with Dad, like the time he accidentally left the secure area of the airport without his phone or ID while we were boarding a plane. But despite those moments, the love between us never changed. He was many things: gracious, kind, genuine, hardworking, talented. He was both serious and traditional about his values and beliefs, but at the same time, unserious and silly day to day. Apparently, he was a great boss. Through our whole lives, people around the Quad Cities have come up to us and said, "Are you Colarusso? Is your dad Joe? I used to work with him at the Arsenal. He was the best boss," like all the time. And even today, people said that. And today, many of you have come up and told us that Dad loved us so much, and he was so proud of us, and we appreciate that. But to be honest, we already knew that. We've always known that. He kissed us 1,000 times a day, and he was just so open and affectionate, and we had a wonderful, loving childhood and never had to wonder if we were loved. So he and Mom told us and showed us every day, and we're so lucky to have had so many beautiful memories with him. So you want to add?
I have a few things.
She has a few things to add.
No, sorry, I'm the younger sister, so she did most of the work. Thank you, Jory. Sorry. So looking through the pictures in the slideshow, like Jory said, you could tell how proud he was of us. When I was picking photos to put on there, I feel like in almost every picture he's wearing like Notre Dame or UCLA or Northwestern gear, even though most of the time it was Notre Dame, but I'll forgive that. He just loves the Irish. So I know Jory mentioned Formula One. I want to brag for Dad that he was a Formula One fan before it was cool. When he lived in Europe, he went to races all over. He would camp there, even brought Mom, which she didn't like, if you know Mom. But yeah, so I just want to say he was into all the cool stuff. I feel like he made us cool. And I owe it to Dad, too, for my love of and taste in music, and probably why I have the job I have today. Music was always playing at the house. In the car, he would quiz me on classic rock artists. And I remember one time I was in class in high school, and my teacher made a reference to like Another Brick in the Wall, and he was kind of annoyed that no one in the class really got the reference, and then I like raised my hand and I was like, "Oh, Pink Floyd," and the teacher liked that, and then I told my dad, and he loved that I was the one student that knew the reference. I was always proud of having an older dad, and while losing him and Mom while I'm still in my 20s is obviously devastating and way too soon. Jory and I wouldn't be the people that we are today without him and Mom. I'm so grateful for the way that he and Mom raised us, and the greatest thing that they ever did was raise us to be best friends. So I'm just so grateful to them for that. No, it's fine. So there's so much more we could say about Dad. I know you all probably have 1,000 stories. And I want to hear them. I want us to continue sharing stories of him here today and beyond. Because, like we said, Dad had me when he was 48. I have no memories of him before he was like 50. So I love hearing all of the first part of his life and everything. And And if anyone wants to say a few words, share a memory, planned or unplanned, we'd love to hear it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I know we have a couple, James or Henry. Might just have to take it out.
Hi, if you don't know me, I'm from Dublin, Ireland, and I am Joey's cousin down the back. One of my favorite members in this family was Joe. He always smiled when I walked in the door. That meant a lot to me. He was really kind about me. He loved playing sports with me, doing fun activities like going to the park and reading fun books. At Christmas, we played Dirty Santa and I had a blast with him. At the summer, we go to the beach and play in the water, and I just had so much fun. And I really miss him right now. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm James. I'm Jory's husband. Joe was my father-in-law and my friend. I'll be forever grateful to him primarily for raising such a beautiful, wonderful, and generous daughter, and for welcoming me into his family and sharing his various and varied passions with me. We, as the girls alluded to, enjoyed spending a lot of time in the backyard, drinking beer and splitting wood. There's a lot more of an art to it than you'd think. And most importantly, we enjoyed cooking together. Joe taught me a lot of his family Italian recipes, which mostly involves going through his Italian cookbook. There are things written in the cookbook, and you don't follow any of them. You just adjust all of them. He also got me into bread making and got me the bread Bible, which is about 628 pages long, and then he showed me the 8 pages that we actually use to make bread. And the rest can be ignored. And as well, eventually he got me a companion subscription to Bon Appetit. Mostly, I think, so he could complain about all of the recent fusion recipes, which have destroyed the publication. And really thought they really need to go back to focusing on the classics. Thankfully, Joe actually has every issue of Bon Appetit from the last 30 years annotated and archived in his basement. So he could pull out the issue where they actually focused on Italian cuisine in 1994 and told me, they should just publish it like this every month. But the issues are still there. Anyways, most importantly, Joe was a wonderful example as a husband and a father to his 2 amazing daughters, a path I will be following him down when we welcome our own daughter in 2 months. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joe Phelan, and I'm a longtime friend of Joe and the Colarusso family. Since we have the same name, I was always Joe P, since my last name is PH, and he was always Joe C, so that's what we always called him. After all this happened, I've been trying to remember the very first time that I met Joe, and I really can't. I'm sure it was in the fall of probably around 1998. It would have been when Jory, his daughter, and my daughter Alyssa started kindergarten at Lourdes Catholic School. And it was probably at some function with a bunch of people, and I just don't remember meeting him. But It didn't take long for the girls to become best friends, and my wife Julie and Jennifer became very close friends very quickly. And over the next 25 plus years, our families became intertwined in a remarkable way. We did vacations together, we traveled together, we celebrated anniversaries, birthdays, holidays. It was remarkable. Literally hundreds of meals and get-togethers. We were like an extended family. I said I don't remember Joe meeting him the first time at Lourdes, and that's probably because of what he wasn't. He wasn't loud or flashy. He didn't need to be the center of attention. He was the exact opposite of self-centered. But it didn't take very long to figure out how special Joe really was. Joe C. was old school in the very best sense of the word, the phrase. He was kind and loyal and caring. He was authentic and he was easygoing. He didn't have a pretentious bone in his body. He was warm-hearted and he was generous to a fault. I'm sure some other people have had trouble trying to pick up a check or a tab at a bar or restaurant when Joe was there, because he always wanted to pick it up first. If you were a friend of his, there was nothing he wouldn't do for you, no favor he wouldn't try to jump to do or any problem to help you solve. He was also the ultimate family man. He really was. The two girls, you were everything to him, you and Jennifer. Joe worked at the Arsenal and then retired, but he kept working just to make sure the girls got the best possible college education. Jory and Jacqueline, you were always his top priority, as you know, I don't have to tell you, and you were his pride and joy, always. Joe was born about a decade too late for the technology revolution. It was rare for Joe to complain or get angry unless it involved his computer or his cell phone. He had a lot of trouble there. Besides his family and his friends, he never took himself or things too seriously. He had a very unique sense of humor, which is very similar to mine, and I think that's why we were such close friends. We both also enjoyed the occasional adult beverage, and although I'm not much of a comedian, I could usually make him laugh. He would accuse me of timing my jokes just so he would spit out his drink or blow beer out his nose. And that was only true part of the time. Joe was a car guy, or a car guy, as he would say. He loved it when he came to visit us in Naples, Florida, with all the exotic cars that are down there. He could pick out this Ferrari and that Porsche and tell you all the details about it. And he wouldn't hesitate, if he could, to go up to the owner and start talking to them about their car. He was that kind of guy. He had this ability to strike up a conversation with anyone. His good-natured disposition was completely natural, completely sincere, and that's one of the reasons that so many people loved him. As has already been mentioned, Joe, like me, was a music guy. What we would call classic rock, other people now call dad rock, or geezer rock, I think is a little less friendly. I remember when I first got Spotify, I would have him name any old song and I could play it for him almost instantly, and he loved that. That was amazing. I think we had several sessions that lasted way too long, many hours, just him picking out old songs and me playing them for him. He also liked vintage stereo equipment, which he had a bunch of around the house. And one time I bought an exact replica of the same model as my Sony receiver from the 60s. I bought one for my daughter Alyssa. It was the same, except it didn't come with a wooden case. Well, Joe stepped right up and he made an exact replica of that case so she could have that on her receiver. Except he made it out of solid walnut instead of the crappy plywood veneer that came on the original one. So he was very meticulous as well as generous. And of course, he wouldn't take a dime for it. When I retired a few years ago, Joe was the one that convinced me to start bicycling again. Something I had enjoyed, but I hadn't done for decades. We biked all over the Quad Cities and around the Quad Cities. We took bike trips up into Minnesota and Wisconsin. And once I finally convinced him to get rid of his ancient 1973 Schwinn, he could just out-pedal me whenever he wanted to on his new bike. We had many other great road trips together. He loved to travel. He almost never said no when the opportunity came up. Being with Joe was comfortable. Whenever I had to attend some sort of fundraiser or some big party with mostly strangers, if he was there and he flashed his goofy half smile at me from across the room, the event always went from being an obligation to being a good time. He was just a great guy to hang with, and he was a truly good person. I have hundreds of stories I could tell about my time with Joe, and many of them I'm going to keep for myself. He became a huge part of my life and my best friend. I'm sure you have your own memories of Joe C., your own favorite stories, and I hope you'll cherish them as much as I cherish mine. We all experience loss. Death is part of life. I know that Joe had a wonderful life, a great life, but I can't help that part of me is angry. Joe's loss just seems too early. It's unfair. The loss of his wife, his stroke, it's just unfair. He deserved better. He deserved more. But we humans don't get to make those decisions. We just have to find a way to live with them. Jory and Jacqueline, you know that everyone in this room will always love and support you. You are the legacy of Joe and Jennifer, and I know you'll always do them proud. And I know Joe C. would be upset if I didn't mention Vicki Rasmussen. She was Joe's emotional rock this last year, and her unwavering support and affection really meant everything to Joe through some very hard times. And, you know, she's not here now. Vicki, you're not here? She left. For Joe and everyone who loved him, I can't thank her enough for that. There's a very true saying, although you may forget exactly what someone said or what exactly someone did, you'll always remember how they made you feel. And Joe, you always made me feel better.
Okay. Last call. Are we good? Oh, do you want to come?
Well, I hate to follow all of that. That was just all lovely from everybody, and I can't stand up here without saying how touched I am. I'm Dennis Quinn. I met Joe through Jennifer's friendship with my wife, Lynn. I have not known him as long as most of you. We met just a bit before his retirement. First thing I noticed was we had absolutely nothing in common. For instance, Joe loved cars, seemed to know everything about them in great detail, as was mentioned. On the other hand, I have been driving a car for many years, but we got along. Joe would always say no one got his humor. You must have, but I got it too, and I would be on guard for it, and you never knew when it was going to strike. I took Joe golfing once. He had the oldest and worst set of golf clubs I have ever seen, probably like his bike, Joe. I always stood behind him when he swung, but also far away. Not so much due to the fear of getting hit with the ball, but afraid the club head would break off and hit me somehow. Joe wasn't much of a golfer either, but he was a terrific craftsman. One year he made Lynn and I a beautiful small bench out of the crib our children slept in it as babies. I'm sure it took him many, many months. It was a very thoughtful gift, just as Joe was, always very thoughtful. We loved it, love it, and I've taken multiple photos of our grandkids sitting on that bench, and it's very dear to our entire family. A lot of people can play good golf, but not everyone can create treasures for generations to come. Joe was one of those people.
I'm Tom Scoville, and one of the cycling friends of Joe C. and Joe P. I need to elaborate a little bit on one of the bike trips to Minnesota, I think Joe referenced. Beautiful place. We rode along a river trail. It was going to be a weekend adventure, and rode along the trail and really enjoyed it. I did my best to keep up with these guys. Wasn't easy. I kind of wish he had the old Schwinn again. At least it would have given me a fighting chance. But had a very nice day, and we got back to the motel right on the bike trail. And it was kind of a nice setting and going to be a nice evening. And we were a little thirsty, so we visited the local liquor store to put something in our cooler to take back to the room, and had kind of a nice front deck on the thing. And anyway, we're in this liquor store and looking around, and I think Joe's probably looking for Guinness, and I'm not sure what Joe C. was looking for, but anyway, I noticed a beer in the cooler that was like $3 for a 6-pack. And I commented to the guys, I said, have you ever heard of this thing? It was called Lost Lake. And anyway, kind of forgot about it, and we got on with what we were going to pick up, some snacks and what have you, but at some point, before we left, I looked at Joe, and he kind of looked at me, and I'm guessing a bit adventurous, we bought a 6-pack of this stuff. Now keep in mind, we got back to our motel room, and been a long day of riding bikes, hot, thirsty, and probably anything would have tasted relatively good. Joe had one, I had one, you chickened out, but that's okay. And the first swallow or two, when you're hot, well, this isn't bad. I tell you, within about 5 or 10 minutes, we looked at each other and we figured out that it was horrible. And so anyway, still had a nice time. We did numerous bike trips, but I thought that was kind of a funny thing. Fast forward about 2 months, we had a little gathering at our cabin on the deck. Joe came down, had a small cooler with him. Guess what was in there? The other 4 cans of the 6-pack. I don't know what happened to those, but I'm pretty sure nobody had them. But great memories, good memories of riding bikes. I think Joe was game for whatever type adventure was available, and always was a gentleman, and yet willing to laugh at pretty much anything. And typically that was me lagging way behind, stopping, waiting for me to catch up. But got a lot of fun. I'll be missed. My heart breaks for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thanks for coming.